I was having a conversation with my wife recently. I said, babe, I think that the devil might actually be real. And she said, yeah, of course there's evil in the world. And I said, no. I mean, Satan is real. And she looked at me like I was crazy. Now, I've been studying human behavior and metaphysics, ancient esoteric teachings, and spiritual cultures for more than a decade. And if you look at the common threads across all these cultures, they point to the fact that Satan isn't just symbolic, he's real. Most Christian denominations believe Satan is a real being, a fallen angel who rebelled against God. In Islam, Satan, or Iblis, is a real being, a jinn who refused to bow to Adam out of pride, whose sole purpose is to tempt humans to stray from God's path. In Zoroastrianism, he's Ahriman, a very real cosmic force, not just a symbol. In the Mayan culture, he's a bat god linked with death. In Buddhism, he was a demon who tempted Buddha. And as I studied even further, many people in these ancient cultures who were very sensitive could see beyond the physical world into the energetic or etheric or astral realms and could actually see Satan. And he's always depicted the same way: horns, tail, forked tongue, basically exactly what you'd imagine a being would look like who had been exiled from God, from love, from faith. And while Satan can't directly materialize in physical form, he's able to use physical forms to create chaos, fear, doubt, to create entities of power and control that keep the vast majority of human beings living in poverty, illness, and in violence. And she said, look, if what you're saying is true, that Satan is real, and that all the chaos and violence and destruction is a byproduct of his work, then how do we defeat him? And I said, we don't, but there is one who can. Is Satan real? And is all the chaos and destruction and pain that we see in the world today, and the struggle and strain and stress that we experience in our personal lives, a result of the devil's handiwork? And if it is, then what do we do? What can you do to win the battle? Now, throughout cinematic history, we've seen these epic battles of good versus evil, whether it's Luke Skywalker versus Darth Vader, or the Lord of the Rings with Frodo and the Fellowship versus Saruman and the Dark Armies. We are easily captivated by these legendary confrontations of light versus dark. Now, why is that? Might it actually be because we are living within the most epic story of good versus evil, of dark versus light, and that you are one of the main characters just now waking up to the fact that you are a real hero and there is a real enemy, and his name is Satan? Now, it might sound far-fetched, but I'm going to tell you a story, and the story starts with us, human beings. See, a long, long time ago, God had an idea. And his idea was to connect the material world, the world that we can see and hear and taste, with the spiritual world, what are known as the etheric and astral realms, the energetic realms. And in order to do that, to unify the different dimensions of reality, he created what he considered to be his greatest creation, which was the human being. And unlike his other great creations, the angels, the devas, the many non-physical vibrational entities that exist across the multiverse, he gave man the ability to have a physical experience. He gave man the ability to sense the material world, to see, to hear, to taste, to touch, to smell. He gave human beings the ability to interpret the vibrational, energetic reality into a physical experience. Now, up until then, God's creation was what we would call non-physical or non-material. Creation existed in the non-physical realms, often referred to simply as the heavens, where angels, spirits, and other non-physical beings exist and interface with this physical world. Now, God also gave man one of his greatest technologies, which was the brain and the nervous system. He installed into human beings the ability to interface between the non-physical realms and the physical realms. This installation gave man the ability to think, to feel, to imagine, to access intuition. He also, according to scripture, created man in his own image. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means that he gave man the power to create something from nothing. using simply the power of his mind, the power of thought or emotion or words, man could create. Just as God said, "Let there be light," and there was, what you speak as a representation of what you think and what you feel, you create into reality as well. If you speak disease upon yourself, you create disease upon yourself. If you speak wellness upon yourself, you create wellness upon yourself. If you speak blessings and abundance and love into the world, you create a world filled with blessings and abundance and love. Man was the ultimate creation of God's divine handiwork. But God, by nature, is a God of infinite possibility. All things exist in God because without all things, we really can't know anything. Without big, we can't experience small. Without dark, we cannot know the light. Without evil, we cannot know the good. And so just as in God, there is the possibility of unconditional love and goodness, so too there must exist the possibility of the opposite of that. The absence of love, the absence of goodness, which we would call evil. The antithesis of good is evil. And the antithesis of God, or the anti-God, is Satan. And so Satan sees the joy, the love, the goodness in God's ultimate creation, in his creation of man, and serving as the anti-God, Satan takes control of God's most precious creation on God's most precious planet. A green garden amidst a universe of rocks and ice and lifelessness. Once God completes his greatest act of love and innovation and expression of his infinite genius and greatness, Earth is seized by Satan, and mankind is enslaved under Satan's control. Now, you might say, why would a God so great and powerful allow Satan to take control of his most precious creation? And the answer is, because God is great. God cannot be a God of possibility if he himself is not vulnerable to evil. I mean, how great would a God be if he set the table for only himself to win and no way to lose? I mean, think about it. The greatest of all time are not the greatest because they go unchallenged, but because they overcome the challenge. The greatest heroes in history are the greatest heroes in history, the George Washingtons, the Gandhis, the Jesus Christs, because they overcame the greatest challenges. And so it would only make sense that God would allow the challenge, only to know that over time, he could overcome it. So how did Satan take humanity? Well, if we think about the most cunning, sinister, and evil way to achieve this, then Satan would use the same beautiful technology, the same beautiful mind, the same beautiful nervous system that God created, and he would use it against God's own creation, which is exactly what he did. Satan created one of the most sophisticated technologies that has ever existed, which is fear. And he installed it on the operating system that God gave man. And this really is the story of Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. Man exists in the garden, which is earth, as God's greatest creation, living in harmony and relationship with God as his child, with everything provided for him. Satan instills doubt and fear into the garden, and God and man are separated as a result of the egoic, fear-based mind. Man becomes genetically modified, neutering him from his capacity and separated from his true identity and relationship in God. Satan now rules planet Earth. And I want to invite you to get present for just a moment to what that experience must be like for God. To put all of his love, all of his creative capacity, his effort, his thought, his mind, into creating a miracle that all of the universe could witness in the birth of humanity. His shining light, his children, and to watch it seized by the most heinous, vicious, demonic force that also exists in the universe. It's heartbreaking. Hey, it's David. Quick announcement before we get back to your episode. Our annual event, the Powerful Living Experience, is coming up. There's a link in the show notes, or you can visit powerfullivingexperience.com. Check out the video of last year's event. We're going to be bringing together 1,000 impact-driven entrepreneurs, leaders, and game changers to spend 3 days doing what matters most. going really, really deep on identifying the limiting beliefs and subconscious programs that are still preventing you from your full potential, and going through deep experientials and trainings and transforming them. We're also going to be getting into concepts like wealth creation, purpose, greatness, money, relationships, health. And if you're an entrepreneur, we're going to be spending about 20% of that event opening up my business playbook, the same strategies and tactics and techniques that we use to go from $0 to $30 million in an impact-driven business while spending 90% of my time doing what I love. There's nothing like the Powerful Living Experience. Inc. named it a top 3 must-attend personal development event for entrepreneurs and leaders, and I want to see you there. We've got some discounted tickets right now, plus some additional bonuses. Again, all the information is in the link in the show notes, or you can jump on over to powerfullivingexperience.com, get registered, and I will plan on seeing you there along with 1,000 other impact-driven, incredible members of our community for 3 days that you will never forget. And now, back to your regularly scheduled episode. So, what does God, as Father, do next? He sends in his incarnate Son to spread the gospel, to let his children know that he is with them and that he is for them, and to teach them how to be not conformed to Satan's world, but to transform it through the changing of their minds. By returning their minds to a mind directed towards God, not towards fear, towards abundance, not lack, towards faith, not doubt. And so what does Satan do? Satan says to God, fine. You want to send your son? Watch what I'm going to do to him. I'm going to have him betrayed by his most beloved friends. I'm going to give him the most painful, tortured, and humiliating death possible. I'm going to take those teachings and I'm going to distort them so that the true message will never be revealed. I'm going to keep your children enslaved forever. I shared this story with my wife over dinner on a date night. Interesting date night, right? As I'm telling her this story, her eyes are welling up. You know, as new parents to a 2-year-old boy that we would do anything for, sacrifice our lives for, when you hear this story, any parent can only imagine what this must have been like for God. But it was the next thing I told my wife that actually made her cry. I said, you know, there's so much talk about how much faith we should have in God, but I think people are really missing something big. Because I imagine God, after having been insulted in the most horrific ways, seeing his beautiful garden destroyed, seeing his beloved children abused, enslaved, murdered, sitting in front of Satan, who's telling him, no matter what you do, your children will never be free. They will never see love. They will never know you. I imagine God looking back at Satan with sad but hopeful eyes, saying, you don't know my children. They will come back to me. And that's why I want you to know today, God has so much faith in you that you are coming back to him. He puts something in you that no person, no job, no disease, no challenge, no organization, no demon can ever keep you from. And that is returning to the love that he put inside of you and that he gave you. His love that nobody can ever take away from you. Right now, if you're listening to this episode, you're winning the battle. You're waking up. You're overcoming the fear, the doubt, the challenges, and you're reclaiming your God-given sovereignty. You're changing your mind, and each time you choose faith over fear, each time you decide to cut off that negative thinking and move into some form of gratitude, each time you stay your anger or your jealousy and you focus on being in the service of another person, you're getting stronger and stronger, and the devil's trick is getting weaker and weaker. Because you know what? The devil is a one-trick pony. It's a good one. But once you see the trick, you're already on your way out. And I recorded today's episode to remind you of how great you are and how much faith that God has that you're going to be free. free from the tyranny of your mind, free to live in joy and health and wealth and abundance, free to have a personal relationship with the God of your own understanding. Despite the devil trying to convince you otherwise, we are moving into a golden age, an age where spirituality meets technology, an age where we drop our defenses and we start living together as a global family, an age where we return to nature and God and love. And this isn't some sort of utopian, Pollyanna, New Age kumbaya. This is the real power that is emerging right now through all of us. We are getting close to the last scene of the greatest epic that the universe has ever borne witness to. The ultimate good versus evil. And you're right there on the big screen as one of the main characters, and you're winning the fight. For you, for your family, for all of us, and for God. You're doing great. And I love you. I love being on this journey with you. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And if you did, do me a favor. If you're listening on the audio platform, subscribe and leave me a rating. But most importantly, share this episode with someone you love. And if you're following along on YouTube, subscribe, leave me a comment. I try to read all of them, and pay it forward by sharing this episode with someone you love. I will see you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.